What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Wait What Are We Talking About podcast, episode 134. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011. You can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You join the chat, join on the conversation if you're a subscriber over there. We'd love to have you in on all the fun, but if you can't catch it live, that is A-OK. Go over to YouTube and podcast services where it's broken out topic by topic and put is one big video in MP3 for your amusement on the following Friday. Last but not least, hashtag ad merch store. Get all of your swag over there, t-shirts, cups, backpacks, and more. Rep the brand, support us, and we would love you for it. Going with another solo episode today after last week's insanity with JC. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I definitely had a blast recording it. Today, just two topics. Two smaller topics. I don't know, potentially. Just went to a comic convention today, so I wanted to talk about conventions with you guys. Locally, there was a convention that happened over this past weekend as of recording, so today and yesterday. Lady and I were lucky enough to go today. We had some free time, and we had some fun with it. This convention's been going for, oh boy, maybe 5 years, and they've had like multiple throughout the year. It's not like a annual thing, but they kind of spread it out. And we were able to go. We had some fun with it. It's been interesting to see the growth and progression of this con from year to year, from session to session, whatever you want to call it. And this year's was all right. It wasn't too bad. Had a good selection of vendors there and artists and special guests, celebrities you could see. But it also felt, I don't know if it was just their selection of what people were selling and stuff like that. It was kind of like, compared to other ones, it felt smaller in a way. And I think something that could have also helped that thinking was the spacing of everything, which I appreciated as, you know, a customer, a consumer, being able to walk, for the most part, freely without obstruction was very, very nice. There have been years in the past where the layout with their two rooms, one room is very compact and like it's very narrow to walk in between booths, and then the other one was a little bit more open, and I felt like this convention they did a better job of spreading things out in both rooms. Like, there were times, of course, because there's a lot of people, there were traffic jams, I guess you could say, but I thought for the most part they did great with spacing things out, so it allowed for a little bit better flow of traffic. But overall, like I said, convention was fun. We took a few laps around. Personally, something I always do at conventions, regardless of the size, you do one lap through and you just kind of take it all in. You'll look at stuff and like go, ooh, wow, look at all this craziness and all the people. And then from there, depending on your subsequent laps, how many you're taking, you really slow it down and kind of absorb each individual booth, table, artist, whatever it is. And today we did just that. Really depends, like I said, on the convention, how many of those laps you do take. So we took, I think, maybe 2, maybe 3 tops today, just because not a lot caught our eye personally. But I did get some stuff today that I want to show you, just kind of show off. I got Demon Slayer Pop. I got Mr. Inosuke here, looking all dope with his pig head from Demon Slayer. So he was really cool. And then I got these cool, like, wooden, I guess, carvings, pretty much. But they're like cut out and painted. So I got this cute one of Luna Lovegood. Oh, her hair's freaking out. There we go, from Harry Potter. Thought that looked adorable. And then the one that really caught my eye, just because I thought it looked dope as hell, was Morbius from Marvel. Or Jared Leto. No, Morbius. Just thought it looked really cool. So I picked those up. And the woman who was selling them has a lot of other cool designs. I think there was a lizard, a Sandman that looked really dope, and Electro from Spider-Man. There's different Harry Potter ones and different Marvel hero ones, and some other variety. I think she had some wrestler ones, which was cool. But yeah, it was fun to look through, like I said, once again, the different booths, see what people were selling. And yeah, that's always something. The art is phenomenal. Just seeing the massive talent in that room. And obviously their portfolios hung up or in the books in front and the different pieces that they have. So yeah, the local convention was solid. Luckily, I've been able to go to quite a few other conventions. There's another smaller one not too far from where we are, maybe about 45 minutes, which I would say was probably the first local one that we really had. And that's another good one, but I'd say that one's focused more on the comic book aspect of these conventions, which obviously Comic-Con, you would think comic books, and I know that's kind of taken a very, over the years since Comic-Con was first introduced, like it's definitely changed its forms and what they present there. Like obviously there's, the stuffed animals, there's the art, there's games, it's just this wide variety of topics and subject matter, and it's pretty much just like nerd culture just splattered in there. But that smaller one definitely, I would say, focuses on the comic book aspect. I've seen a lot of highly graded comics for sale, individual issues and graphic novels, and things more focused and tailored to that niche audience, I guess you could say. And that's always a fun one to walk through. Once again, you walk away, or at least I've walked away with less stuff, but you're able to find, still collector's items here and there for yourself to hang up and, I guess, show off. So those are the two smaller ones I've gone to. And then, like I said, I've been lucky enough to go to some other ones. I've been able to, one year, kind of on a whim, I joined some friends to Anime Boston, and that one was surprisingly a huge blast. And it could have been, hanging out with the friends, stuff like that. That definitely could have added something to it, which it did. But that one took me by surprise of how much I actually enjoyed it and the experience I had. At the time, I hadn't watched a lot of anime personally. I'd, grown up with Dragon Ball Z and obviously Pokemon and some Yu-Gi-Oh! Here and there, but I hadn't dove deep into like Attack on Titan, which was huge at the time. I don't think My Hero had fully come out yet, so I think this was just before that. But then, I don't know, there's endless amount of animes, but I didn't know anything. So going to that, I was going in blind, essentially, and I had a blast. It just seemed like, obviously, everybody was having a great time, so the energy was positive all around. People obviously freaking out about the shows that they enjoyed, the panels that were available. I think I popped into a Sailor Moon panel for fun, and because Lady was a fan of it, and she was unable to go to the convention at the time, so I picked up something for her there. So that was surprisingly fun, just to pop in there and see what that was about. I think we also went to, as a group, some kind of, it was like a panel for, not directing, but maybe it was storytelling, or storyboarding rather, the animes and stuff like that. We checked that out. And yeah, just Boston's a fun city to explore. We didn't really explore too far from the convention center, but the area around it's very, very nice. A lot of cool restaurants. I think there was a fun mall. And then there was also like a really unique Harry Potter store that was nearby, along with another like pop culture store. So yeah, Anime Boston's one that has taken me by surprise. I think the next one is coming up as of recording, maybe within a week or two. And I'm kind of sad that I don't get to go. Maybe Impulse Trip. No, I'm just kidding. Definitely want to go back to that convention in the future. Obviously, the global panorama pandemic condition, whatever you want to call it, caused some speed bumps for conventions in general. And that's maybe why going today to the local one also was so special. It's just like, man, I really miss this atmosphere and going to these things, exploring, discovering new pieces of art or memorabilia or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that next experience with Anime Boston and going and enjoying that once again. And then as for the West Coast, speaking of impulse ones, when I was living out in California, another convention that I had the opportunity to go to was Wondercon. Now, if you don't know what Wondercon is, it's essentially like San Diego Comic-Con light. Now, I've never been able to go to the big two. I've never been able to go to San Diego Comic-Con or New York City Comic-Con. But WonderCon is essentially, from what I can tell, San Diego, but a little bit more accessible, I guess, and easier to get into. That one was insane. Going to that convention, exploring the numerous amount of rooms that they had, and just the size and the magnitude of that convention, a little awe-inspiring, a little like, whoa, there is a lot to take in here. And I mentioned the laps, like going through, taking everything in, and then from there, really absorbing it. Like, I can't tell you how many times I walked around those rooms trying to see everything and anything that they had to fucking, what the hell, had to experience. I guess that's what I'm looking for. Sorry, guys. And yeah, it was tough. It was tough to see everything. And it was a little overwhelming, but very cool to experience that. I remember going to a couple of panels just for the hell of it. I believe I went to the DC Legends of Tomorrow. Like, Cast had a panel for the newest season coming out with, I believe, Jonah Hex was showing up. That's what their reveal was at their trailer. So that was fun. I think I just went just to kind of throw it in there, like, as an experience. That was fun. I was able to meet Unruly. Shout out to him at WonderCon years ago with his family. That was really cool. Totally did not expect to do that. Also met the Black Power Ranger there from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That was cool. So yeah, WonderCon was a blast. I like I said, that was a big impulse one. I think at the time when I was living there, I kind of went out to explore, find some different comic shops in the area, and luckily one of the shops had it, like a poster for it, and I was like, went home, checked it out. I was like, yeah, I want to do that, and sure enough, impulse buy, got a weekend pass, and here we are. So WonderCon was great, and then what else was there? Twitchcon. Twitchcon was a huge one. So TwitchCon has always been, or at least early on in the streaming career, had been something that I wanted to give a shot, because I figured, like everybody says, network. And I was like, God, I hate networking. But, that's the place to do it, is go talk to people who also stream and figure out that shit. But TwitchCon was interesting from a creator's perspective. Obviously, they still had, like, the art and the memorabilia and the nerd culture stuff for, I would say, a general audience. But, like, as you would go to a convention, that's what you're typically aiming to do. But then something unique with TwitchCon that they had was, it was a lot of booths, tables, whatever you want to call it, that were focused on, obviously, content creation. So there were things for notifications, how to create those. There were things for cameras, for lighting, for pretty much anything that, as a Twitch streamer, YouTube streamer, like any form of content, visual or audio, like, that you would want. And the cool thing was, those booths, obviously, they're there to sell their products, so they want to talk to you about their product, and they want to sell their stuff, or at least, like, answer any questions you have. And I thought that was... it was a fun experience. It didn't feel like, obviously, once again, they're trying to sell you the product, but it didn't feel insincere like other sales pitches and stuff like that. It felt like this is a legit conversation, and we're just talking about, what does your product do? Oh, that's really cool. How could I use that for my thing? Blah, blah, blah. It was nice. Like I said, it didn't feel wow, I just said the insincere. Didn't feel insincere, and it didn't feel like they were just stringing me along. Maybe they were, but at least from my experience, it felt positive overall. Another reason TwitchCon was so positive, once again, hanging out with people. Lady was able to go to this one, so that was a lot of fun hanging out with her. That's where we met Uberbrent for the first time overall, and he's fantastic. Snowbike Mike, we got to hang out with him and his crew. Shout out to him. As he was getting back into streaming himself. Met Miss Snow White there for the first time, who I had watched early on, at least in my experience with Twitch, and learning from her, and kind of like being like, okay, that's a community I want to create. So being able to meet her was fantastic. We saw some other people. I know Maximilian Dude and Yo Video Games were there. We were able to meet Steve, Infinite SGE, just randomly walking around, which is fun. And then I would say the biggest what the fuck moment is I got to compete in Fortnite at that convention. What? They had a Fortnite invitational where it was, I believe it was 50 content creators specifically for Fortnite, and then it was 50 randos. And you signed up for it, and if you got picked, you got an email for it, and you would essentially report in, and you would do, I think it consisted of 3 games. 2 solos, and then it was teams, duos. It was you and the professional, the Fortnite content creator, and you would go from there. And if you did well, you won some money. So that was surprising. And that was a whole nother experience, seeing what obviously the competitive side of gaming is like, and whether it's the Fortnite side or just anything, like how that whole thing is presented, what it's like for the competitors, what kind of, I guess, situation they go through, the setup and whatnot. And it was really, really cool to sit down and experience that. Didn't do super well at the game at the time. Very vanilla and green with my experience at that time. Not that I'm super MLG now, but I definitely think I would do better. But nonetheless, it was really, really cool to once again just be a part of that experience, that presentation to the audience of like, oh, this is a gaming event. So that was neat. I would say the only negative for TwitchCon was their organization. They haven't really, as far as I know, they jump around their locations of where they hold it. Most of the time it's LA. Obviously they've branched out to European audiences and done some over there. But this year, I believe it was San Jose that they were in. And the building was fine. Their organization between hotels was fine and transportation. When it came to meet and greets, I felt that was the downside. There was there was not a great organizational setup for that. You had your rows, but you could be in a line that some security officer told you to be in, and then it wasn't a line, even though you stood there for a half hour, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? So we had a bad experience with that. But other than that, it was a fantastic time. Would I like to go back to TwitchCon? I think so. I think so to, see if there's a potential of meeting other streamers. I think Chilled Chaos and his group has gone from time to time. So now knowing them, seeing if they're there, say, hey, meet them. Running into Yo Video Games again, I don't know if they would ever go back. Not that they had a bad experience, but just with Max and the family now. I don't know if Max is thinking about going to conventions again, or at least at the time being. But yeah, seeing them again, they were always really nice to us, at least, Kenny and Steve, those who we have met. But yeah, it was just fun. It was just a fun time. And then another one that was along the same lines, but even a more kind of niche audience, was RTX, Rooster Teeth Experience. And when we went, Lady and I, that was another one that was very, I would say, community focused. At the time, I was big into Kind of Funny, so going and, as you can tell by some of these posters, going at the time and like meeting up with them and meeting more community members, interacting with them, hanging out with, once again, Snowbike Mike and Gifted Dim and Recosplay and Suburbanite Slob and, all these different members of the community, hanging out with them for a majority of the time. That was a lot of fun. But then we also made sure to really do stuff that we wanted to. And I think, once again, shout out to Snowbike Mike, at the end of all this, he was like, you guys really were exploring this for yourself. I think you guys did the most on your own, not in a bad way, but just like you knew what you wanted to do and you hit those check marks. So for example, we were really into this show with John Reisinger, Murder Room. So we went to a panel for that and experienced what they were talking about and the experience of making the show and how they do things and what they had plans for down the road. We made sure we went to that panel. Went to a panel about the women of RTX, where it featured like Lindsay and Elise from Funhouse, Joey Noel from Kind of Funny, and other content creators from different branches and their experience in the content creation world. I had the opportunity, luckily, to talk to one of the Rooster Teeth editors about his experience of making some live action content and like kind of questioning and picking his brain of how I could do things better on my end and like my workflow and what theirs is. And that was like, it felt really rewarding, even though it was a very quick conversation. The fact that they took the time out of their day to kind of set these appointments aside to talk to individuals who wanted to pursue editing or graphic design or web design or marketing or whatever. They would have team members in the Rooster Teeth, you know, the business side of things, take time out of their day to talk to these people. And it just, that felt different, and it felt really good, really like a really good experience. What else did we have the opportunity to do at RTX? We went to the Kind of Funny panel, so interacting with those guys again was a blast. We had the opportunity to meet some of the Valley folk, Steve Zaragoza, and what's the other guy's name? I'm blanking on it, but they were just wandering around, saw them, that was cool. And then other members of RT, like, I know we didn't get a picture of them. We saw like Jeremy Dooley walking around. We saw Lindsey Jones, Alfredo Diaz, John Reisinger once again. I think Alana Pierce was out there. Andy Cortez was hosting something about the game that Rooster Teeth made that sadly didn't do so good after the month after release. I don't know. That was a fun one. We've kind of fallen out of Rooster Teeth content, at least like regularly watching it. So I don't know how rewarding it would be now to go back. It was definitely a fun experience. I think I would go back because of the positive memories. I just don't know if I would get as much out of it from creator-wise. And it's nothing that anybody did per se. It was just, what am I watching at the moment, I guess. And then I think the only other convention I've gone to would be San Diego Comic-Con. Now you're like, Bret, wait a minute. Earlier you said you hadn't gone to either of the big two. Correct. I've only been outside of San Diego Comic-Con. So that was, what was the reason for that one? Oh, that was a Kind of Funny meet and greet. So they were at San Diego for some reason, for the convention, doing some panel. And they decided that they were going to do a meet and greet at some bar afterwards. And I was like, okay, I'm living here. Why not? I'll drive down. I'll hang out, because I had heard there's a lot of experiences outside of the convention for people to do, and there's a lot to do, a lot of activities, so it's still worth it, even if you can't get in. Excuse me. So I decided to do that. So even seeing the grand scale of that convention from the outside, that was another one that was kind of like, oh shit, this is huge. I remember with that one, there was like different experiences you could walk up to. I remember there was like a South Park area you could walk through and take pictures with like cardboard cutouts. And there was, I believe, a Suicide Squad at the time was coming out. There was a Suicide Squad like VR experience you could go do. What else was there? There were some artists and in a smaller convention center that you could just walk into. Near there, along with a video game area. I think one of the Pokemon games was advertised. Yeah, it was different. It was different because obviously not in the convention itself, but that was fun. I don't know if I'll ever... San Diego would be like the tip of the top to go to. I don't know what the odds are for that. It seems like tickets, you got to be like on the ball with like when they drop immediately. You got to be in a waiting room, blah, 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 this, that, the other thing. I think New York City Comic-Con is a little bit more accessible, it seems, as I've had some friends that have gone to that in the past. But we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, TwitchCon will be fun to go back to. I think WonderCon was great. I think that one I would definitely go back to. That's just a bit of a planning. And then I think top, at least right now, that I definitely want to go back to is Anime Boston. And once again, that was just like, it was such a big surprise. It was so much fun with friends. And now diving into more shows like My Hero, like Demon Slayer, watching Death Note. I know a lot of people are like, holy shit, you're late to the ball on that. I think it would be a little bit more interesting now that I know a little bit more of the subject matter. So it'd be a good time. But yeah, conventions are fun. I know some people aren't all about crowds, If that's not your thing, I get it. You definitely gotta be ready for that. I don't feel like it's always you're crawling over people, but there are at points where it gets congested, where there's a traffic jam, whatever. You just kind of maneuver your way through it, and it'll work out. But other than that, it's really cool. Really cool. Talk to some people who obviously have common interests with you. See all the cool art. See all the cool memorabilia you didn't even think there was. See the random memes that people are producing. Like we saw a surprise Pikachu meme pin today. That was pretty funny. Yeah, just a good time. Good time overall. Conventions. Yeah.